Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talk show radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers talk show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers talk show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you at night.
You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, the home of Night Dreams Talk Radio, with Gary Anderson, syndicated worldwide. Paranormal Talk Radio, like you remember.
Well, it is the 23rd of January, JC. I'll tell you what, if it was going to happen, it happened again tonight. We went to go live and everything just crashed. But you'll see Whistleblower, you'll see who our guest is here tonight. I'll fill the rest of the information in after the show. But we're lucky we managed to get on like tonight.
Yeah, its timing is impeccable when it does it, though, isn't it?
No warning. None.
No, that would be too... It would take the fun out of it, wouldn't it?
Well, on X last night, I was looking at this whistleblower. It's came out of the woodwork, under the sink, under the bed, and that's where he belongs. He said he figured all this out about this egg. You ready for this one, JC?
Lay it on me.
Okay, it is an egg from a giant alien, you ready for this? Chicken. He claims that we have been invaded by 80-foot-tall chickens that lay huge eggs.
Well, oh, boy, are we in trouble if that's the case. Well, at least we've got to the bottom of it.
Well, McDonald's might like it. You know how many, scrambled eggs they can get out of one of those eggs?
Yeah, but wonder why. Maybe that's why they had to move the egg, because chicken went across the road or something.
I don't know. Can you imagine 80-foot alien? Why not? I mean, I've heard about lizard type of aliens, little grays, everything else. Why not 80-foot chicken aliens?
Yes. Listen, they fly the coop just like the small ones.
I don't know. Tonight it's going to be a great show. We're going to be talking about whistleblowers and how many people are coming out of the woodwork. Who do you believe anymore? We have a doctor who's been saying stuff for years that's never been accurate yet. We have other people who have been saying, like, hey, disclosure is going to happen in the next 3 months. It never happens. Year goes by, another year goes by. God, I even died twice waiting for, this disclosure to come out. The Bush is going to say it. Jimmy Carter was going to say it. Clinton was going to say it. And, our last president, he probably wouldn't even remember what he was talking about. And then Trump's supposed to announce it here in the next week or two. I don't know. Everybody is wishing for disclosure, and we need disclosure because, let's face it, we're not the only people walking around in the campground naked, are we, JC?
No, we're not. There's a lot of naked people walking around the
campground.
Well,
it's because it's a nudist camp, I'll tell you, a campground.
That's right. And we're never going to get disclosure like people have it imagined in their heads. It just will not happen. There's a lot of reasons why. Too many to even get into, but it's not going to happen.
Well, let's bring on my guest here, and maybe we can talk about some of these reasons why I don't think we're going to get real disclosure. Ryan, it's great to have you back on, especially just like a week later. But, I had to get you on because I'll tell you, this last person who's made this claim about this egg and the helicopter and all this stuff. And then you got this doctor, it talked about it. And you have News Nation, and they have all these people coming out and like, oh my God, it's the Holy Grail. What are they all smoking?
What came first, the bologna or the egg?
I don't know.
I'm with you, Gary. It's It reminds me of Al Capone's tomb, where you get teased beforehand that it's the big bombshell. Get ready, hold on to your hat. The big reveal happens. Is that an egg on the end of a rope? What is that?
I don't know what it is, but again, now I'm going to be honest with you. I've been in helicopters a lot when I was young. Okay, maybe in a place I didn't like, but I can tell you this: I don't think if you had a UFO shaped like an egg or whatever it was shaped, right? And even they got people saying that is really the right type of shape for a UFO. Well, you know what? I didn't see the eggs fly over Washington, D.C. in the 50s. We didn't see, over Mount Rainier when a pilot was flying by an egg go by. And, and all the TikTok and all this stuff, they weren't eggs. Now we supposedly have an egg, and let's face it, a giant cable suspending an egg that is supposed to be a spacecraft or whatever, right? Or maybe Kentucky Fried Chicken is doing something special here. But again, why would they only use one cable? It doesn't make logical sense.
It looked like the introduction to Morton Mindy.
It
with
did.
The space egg.
It did. It really did.
Yeah. And it's about as funny, but in a little bit different of a way. I get so sick of these big bombshells that they tease and drop. And I don't blame, the cable media, news media for running the stuff, because I would run it. But when you tease it as the next big bombshell, like disclosure, whatever that really means, you're bound to be let down. And the guy who released the film, who's being interviewed, who is that?
Yeah, well, don't you know he was a helicopter pilot in a special group where they retrieved these eggs and other craft?
I looked it up, and I saw that he was a mechanic.
Well, I looked at his military discharge, and it showed that he was a low-level mechanic. That's what he was trained.
This is why I like you, Gary. We're on the same wavelength. This stuff is real, but these people that claim it often are not. Well, it's crazy. It's so maddening.
Well, like when he was interviewed on these other shows, let's be honest with you. They can't take the time to look at some of these discharge paper and figure out what the guy, his rank, and what he did in the military. It clearly stated he was a mechanic, not a helicopter pilot.
Yep. I mean, was he the one who seemed to get welded together Humpty Dumpty when he fell off the wall? Or did he fix a helicopter that he heard from the pilot a story about the egg on a rope? I don't know. It's not holding up well early on.
Well, if you go on X, that's all they're talking about. If you go on to that other platform, the one, that is going to disappear again, maybe, who knows, whatever. But again, there's so many people. It's swear up and down. Everybody they really want disclosure so bad that they'll jump on anything and believe it.
What is disclosure? Like, is it having the boss tell you that it's real? Is it finally seeing the body or the craft? Because we've seen a lot of those. But if you saw the body, if they brought out the body, would you believe it's real? Because that can be faked. I think disclosure is a term that we should retire one of these days.
Well, again, let's face it. If you're in the military or any government agency, you sign a special agreement. Maybe not if you're infantryman or the cook or the mechanic.
Or the mechanic.
Yeah. But if you're in some special organization, you sign an agreement. And if you actually spill the beans on what you did, the first thing, even if you're out of the military, they're going to bring you back into the military. They're going to put you in the stockade. They're going to court-martial you, and you get a free vacation somewhere.
For a long time.
Now, if you are lying about it for your 2 minutes worth of fame, they're not going to do anything about it. Otherwise,
why-
all these
why
other
would they?
people would be locked up and the prisons would be full already.
Yep. If it was a darkened silhouette with the lowered voice, like they used to always do, but you had the news company would vet them and say, "We've done our vetting, but this is what they have to say," it would be more believable, not less.
Well, all I want is the truth to come out, and I don't think we're going to get it yet, because even though when the Congress held all these, sessions about, the whistleblowers coming forward, none of them really said anything, at least where the public could hear, to back up their story. It's like, I know somebody who was in a crash retrieval unit. They saw alien bodies. They saw this. The magic word, they.
Or if you and I get into a skiff, I could tell you more. Well, we're in a public hearing that does absolutely nothing except for frustrate us.
Well, I do believe there is crashed UFOs, and
Me
we
too.
probably have recovered them. But these low-level people, and even Lou, if you really look at him, he was an infantryman. Why would he be running a department that he was supposedly running?
Well, and if he ran that department, why is he talking about it now? And why did the Pentagon take an entire year to vet his book before it came out?
Well, again, too, did the Pentagon really go through and look at his book? I mean, let's face it, did he even write his own book? Because that's somebody else's, ghostwriter wrote it for him. In that case, there's a lot of people who wrote books that never written the book.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But have you read his book? Honestly?
I read, I'm about halfway through.
Okay, what is your take on the book? Be honest.
Call me an old cynic these days, but I feel like it's good reading, but doesn't tell you anything real. It's a lot of, I heard this and high level people told me this, and this is the real story according to people that I've talked to. I'm like, so I haven't found the thing that blew my mind yet. It just feels like a lot. It's a little bit more believable of the same, but there's nothing really to go on, and so it's super frustrating.
Well, you know what it is, basically. To me, when I read it twice, it was like reading a novel. That's the feel. Yeah. That's the feel I got from the book. Now, I could be totally wrong, but it didn't give us anything. Again, if he would have divulged anything, guess what? He would have been brought back in the military, court-martialed, and locked up.
Yeah, I know. It falls into the pattern of the Mr. Mechanic and the egg, where it's like these big claims, but they don't really come with any evidence, or it doesn't name specific people that have to come out then that have been leveraged by this whistleblower, because none of them are whistleblowers. It's something else, but it's not a whistleblower. But it just doesn't come with the goods. And the book itself is not the goods. And the video of the egg on a rope is also not the goods, but it's claiming to be the goods.
Well, there's people saying they analyzed that egg and that rope with AI, and it comes back, it's like 99% real. But if they don't know what they're doing with analyzing with AI, and I've gotten really pretty good at using AI, I'm going to tell you, it could have analyzed it, and yeah, it's 99% of egg. That's the scary part. You can actually have AI tell you anything you want it to say by the way you word it. That's scary. And you can generate video clips, and you can generate all kinds of stuff nowadays with AI. That is really darn right scary. Ryan, back about a half a year, maybe a little bit more, I had a major person in AI. He produced a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies, and he owns a huge real estate empire. And, they used to hire actors to do their little advertising for their real estate corporation.
Mm-hmm.
It's all AI now.
Yep.
And the average person looking at it don't even realize that that's not a real person anymore. That's the AI generated from, image of somebody.
Yep. And deep fakes and all that, very believable. But I try to look at it not as being, is it VFX or AI or not? I try and look at the whole picture, right? Because you can't tell anymore. And I think I'm not even at the point where I say, well, where's the rotor wash on the grass or whatever that is the egg's on top of? Or where's the people that loaded it up? I'm not even there yet because I'm already laughing at it.
Well, they got to answer.
The content itself.
They got to answer. Well, because they were so high up, you can't see the people. It'd be like ants. But they weren't high up. And if you look at that video, it's just out of kilter.
How big is the rope then? 50 feet in diameter? Like, I think you'd see the people, and the egg behaves and rolls not like a 30-foot egg. It looks like an egg on a string. And I don't get why you would pick it up on a rope. Why wouldn't you put it in the back of a helicopter, of a Chinook or something? And why would this guy have the video? And they're not making it clear if he's the one who filmed it or was piloting or has heard about this stuff.
No, he claimed
it's not good.
He claimed he did it off of his cell phone.
So that cell phone is infrared or night vision? Come on. I'm not trying to just totally mock everything that comes out, and I don't. But something like this is baloney. It's obvious baloney.
But again, like I said at the beginning of the show, Brian, so many people believe it, and and the reason why they believe it because they want to believe in something, because we're not being told the truth. By our Congress, by our military, or anybody, they're not telling us. And, again, when I was watching the circus with the Congress, and people get mad at me when I say that, I watched these people come out like from the CIA and various departments, right? And they were asked by Congress members, well, how about Roswell? Did that happen? No, it never happened. This never happened. This didn't happen. If I do feel, if you want disclosure, something happened in 1947. They announced that they had wreckage of a UFO. And then with a matter of hours, can you imagine? It hit the AP, the wire, all the newspapers printed, we got a crashed UFO.
Yeah, the Roswell Daily Tribune the very next day said, we have a flying saucer.
Yeah, could you imagine the people in the Pentagon, the people in the White House at that time when that came out? They probably shit bricks.
Yeah. Can you imagine the scrambling, trying to undo that? Then they say it was a weather balloon. And then if you zoom in on, was it Ramey? I think it was General Ramey, on the newspaper that he's holding on the Roswell Daily Record, not Tribune, Daily Record. You see it talks about occupants and retrieval on there. So, the U.S. government lies and they try and cover all this stuff up. We know that. But you can't then look to that same U.S. government to have disclosure and tell us it's all real, because that's not how it works.
No, and you look at those poor people in that area that actually were harassed by government agents coming to their door and saying, you never heard anything. You never saw it. People can get lost in the desert. I mean, I've had some people who, on the show that are quite famous that wrote books on Roswell, and they did a lot of investigation. A lot of these people, witnesses and all that, they were terrified to come forward or say anything because they were threatened.
Yeah,
now,
Jesse Marcel's son.
You're right. But why would they be threatened unless it was real?
Well, if it's a weather balloon, well, then who cares? But again, why would the same government that is doing that be the ones to disclose and tell you that it's all real one day? The onus has to be on us at some point to accept that it's not going to be top down, that you have to look at the whole thing almost like a court case, because the murder doesn't happen in the courtroom. You have to have reasonable doubt. And if it was a court case, it's beyond reasonable doubt that they are here. But we don't have all the answers, but it's very clear that they are here. But unfortunately, there's a whole lot of fake evidence put out there, which just makes it's dizzying how much.
But do you ever think that these people that are spreading this stuff, like, oh, this egg, okay, could be somebody getting paid by the government for disinformation?
Yeah. I mean, whatever happened to the drones? Is this distracting from the drone thing?
Well, Trump said just yesterday that he's going to have, some information about it. We'll find out. But again, here's even with the drones, right? We already know that companies use drones to transport merchandise now because it's cheaper than, doing it, shipping it out. They can, like Amazon and Walmart and a whole bunch of other companies, warehouses, can send it from warehouse to warehouse by using drones. And they're not small. They're about the size of a car, and they can carry a lot of different products. You got that going on. But then you got other people saying, well, the drones are actually to spy on these orbs. And what we got is a whole bunch of people that don't even really, I don't know.
It's a mess. But when you have governors and mayors on the news saying, somebody tell us what is going on here, it just shows how chaotic it truly is. Like maybe nobody has the answers. Maybe I tend to think that the FBI and the CIA know exactly what it is. They just don't want to say. But if governors are upset on TV saying we don't know what's happening, maybe nobody does. But we don't have answers yet. And it's very weird. And it's been going on for years. This drone thing over sensitive military sites, it's been the last 3 years in the same month period. It starts right before Christmas every single year. So I'm willing to believe it's not ET, that it's something else, but it would be awfully nice if somebody told us.
Well, again, too, why would these drones be near military bases? That's kind of weird too. And why haven't we put a stop to it?
Yep. If you and I, Gary, took a Cessna and we flew over Piccadilly Arsenal, sayonara. We would not make it back, right?
No, we wouldn't.
Of course not.
We'd be history.
And if we flew my kid's drone over Piccadilly Arsenal, sayonara. No money back. Everyone would understand you can't do that. But these things are floating slowly over, and there's cables going back and forth with the base commanders to the Defense Department. What's going on over here? It's very, very weird.
It is.
I don't think it's all ET, but you got me on what this stuff is. It might be ET.
Well, again, we have certain people that claim that we're close to a false, guess what? Invasion.
A false invasion?
Yeah, false invasion.
Yeah. My natural wiring is never to believe that kind of thing, but it's not out of the bounds of making some sense. A fake UFO invasion would distract from a lot of big things. There's been for years, if you look at the CIA at their leaked videos of UFOs, they'll coincide with major wars and economic downturns and pandemics, and suddenly something comes out and gets everybody chattering. I don't know, a fake one like Blue Beam, I think they called it. It does make some sense, even though I do believe that ET are here.
Oh yeah, I know that they're here. I mean, we'd have to be so naive, Ryan, to really think that these things don't exist, that we are the only intelligent life, period. We're not.
Nope.
And another thing that really frustrates me in doing this for 50 some years is all these people, they give off orbs, they give off love. They would never hurt mankind. They would never not allow a nuclear war. But then I look at humans, since we were born or planted on this planet or whatever, from Cain to Abel, what did one of them do to his brother?
Bonked him.
Yeah, and the wars have not stopped. No matter how more advanced we get, medically, technology, and everything else, spiritually. We're still killing each other on this planet nonstop, 24/7.
Yep. It's the only way we get things done, apparently.
Well, again, if you look at just because there's a race of grays or ETs or whatever you want to call them, don't you think they might still have that trait too?
Yeah. I wouldn't, any race of ET that is here, I wouldn't go so far as to say, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. That's like the end of Independence Day when you get the welcoming party on top of the skyscraper saying, aliens, take us away, we love you. Remember? And they're dancing around, and then they just zap that skyscraper first.
Oh, they do. We need to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be with Ryan. I got a lot of questions to ask him, and we can just maybe even take some calls tonight. So, if you want to do that a little bit later in the show, it's going to be good. So buckle up and watch your windows, because you never might know what's on the other side. So we'll be back with Ryan right after this. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. Please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, good or bad, about tonight's show on YouTube. We'll be right back.
Operator, or could you help me place this call? See, the number on the matchbook is old and faded. She's living in LA with my best old ex-friend Ray. Gosh, she said she knew well and sometimes hated. Isn't that the way they say it goes? Well, let's forget all that and give me the number if you can find it, so I can call just to tell them I'm fine and to show I've overcome the blow. I've learned to take it well. I only wish my words could just convince myself that it just wasn't real, but that's not the way it feels.
Available now. Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. This is the most comprehensive and in-depth examination of Bigfoot ever written. How did Bigfoot in North America, the Yowie in Australia, and the Woodwoes, Britain's Bigfoot, get to where they are today? Mike Dupler connects the dots, and the conclusions are incredible. This changes everything. Don't be left out in the woods, in the cold, not knowing. Read Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. Available now on Amazon. Ryan MacLeod Morris is the current host of Probe the Deep, a YouTube TikTok channel devoted to the reality of UAP, UFOs, and related topics. He's the former owner of Flying Saucers Cafe in Santa Monica, a notorious UFO-themed coffee house he founded and operated for many years. He also has seemingly endless notoriety for being the guy who sprung the Unknown Lifeform in North Carolina sewer viral video onto the world. In 2009, it became, for a while, the biggest viral video in the world and was covered on CNN, ABC, NBC, Aftenblatt Sweden, etc. He got into a public spat with the Raleigh, North Carolina Department of Water and Power over what the blob really was, and it became an international story with Ryan at the center of it. It's still never been truly solved, and he still gets millions of views each year on his YouTube channel over it. Flying Saucers Cafe was still pretty new at the time the video went bonkers, and he was investigating claims of the unexplained with UFORadar, as he has for decades. So he became quite internet famous and ended up with a TV show that launched, but never aired, called Strange Brew. Flying Saucers Cafe became Santa Monica's headquarters for all sorts of weird stuff. And a quick Google search will reveal that it became the cool place for celebrities that were interested in Bigfoot, UFOs, ESP, etc. So there were some funny media stories of Ryan and them hanging out in the safe zone that was Flying Saucers. Fast forward a few years, and Ryan got obsessed with ocean-based UAP and has his UFO theory of everything that he's screaming from the rooftops, that these craft are indeed ocean-based von Neumann machines and not what we thought. Ryan has a channel called Probe the Deep devoted to it, with a few 100,000 viewers, and is urgently calling for disclosure and for the public to get smart about this. From the shadowy depths of the unknown to the farthest reaches of the cosmos, this is Night Dreams Talk Radio. Join legendary host Gary Anderson, a titan of alternative talk radio with over 54 years of experience, as we dive deep into the mysteries of UFOs, Bigfoot, Earth changes, time travel, and the unexplained. Featuring top guests, electrifying interviews, and the best bumper music from the 70s, 80s, and beyond. Your next adventure begins here. Tune in every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, iHeart, and all major platforms. Night Dreams Talk Radio, where the night comes alive.
I knew we'd have more thunder coming by tonight. Again, too, I just want to make this clear. I'm not against disclosure. I think we really need to be told the truth. What I'm trying to just tell you out there, that there's a lot of people that are coming out of the woodwork that we can't trust what they're saying. Now, I could be totally wrong about this helicopter pilot / mechanic, but everything I did to check on them, it just makes me alarmed that other people out there that are trying to prove that we are being visited, that UAPs, flying discs, no, flying saucers, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, are real. When you bring people on your show and you don't check them out good enough, it actually does more damage for the disclosure movement than anything. The fact is, we want the truth. And you know what? There's people in the background probably quite happy when we get these people making these claims. Ryan, that's my 2 cents on disclosure.
Yep, I agree with you. I think that for full disclosure, meaning everybody accepts it, they always say, well, the giant craft on the White House lawn. Well, that might be what has to happen. Something might happen that, breaks it for everybody, but that's not coming from cable news or coming from a congressional hearing. But until that happens, there's every reason to believe and to know that ET is here. But man, is there a lot of folklore and a lot of people selling things around it. It's super frustrating.
Well, again, I was watching a documentary the other night about the Ukraine war. And, and one of the people saying, I'm not worried. It won't go nuclear because ET won't allow that to happen. Oh, my God. How could anybody in their right mind make a statement that ET will not allow us to go nuclear on this planet? Well, they sure don't care what we do to ourselves other than that.
Yeah. It's like saying, well, my reckless spending and I'm on the verge of bankruptcy, but I'm going to win the lottery. Well, it makes about as much sense.
Well, look, we dropped 2 nuclear weapons, right? In Japan. E.T., after we did the first one, they sure didn't come and stop the second one.
No. Or what about all the tests at Bikini Atoll? They didn't stop those.
Yeah, well, look at how we destroyed a beautiful island, too. We moved all the occupants of that island off, and then we literally destroyed it.
Yeah, we nuked it.
Yeah, to nothing.
Yeah, so I think the aliens are a little behind if that's their overarching goal. We've been launching nukes for a long time.
What do you think is going to happen with disclosure? And what would you like, Ryan, to happen?
I love that question. What I think is going to happen is that something that we don't foresee coming is going to happen. Meaning the aliens or ETs or von Neumann machines from the ocean or whatever, that they finally just make themselves known. I can see that happening, because if you assume for a moment that what I believe is happening is real, meaning I think ET is here. So if ET is here, it's only a matter of time before we know. At least that's what it feels like. And the amount of sightings and the amount of credible stuff has been ramping up so quickly that I think something will happen. In terms of disclosure from above, even if President Trump does say it's real, that's not even disclosure to me. To me, that's not the real goods. It only comes when we see it for real.
But let's be honest. You think any president in their right mind would announce to the American public and the population that we are being visited by ETs and they're real and we don't know what they're here for?
I do not see that happening.
Well, you realize if a president said that, you're going to have a certain amount of population, that has a lot of weapons. They're going to be freaked out.
Do borders mean anything anymore if that happens? Do sovereign economies and the things that we all divide ourselves up on, like maps, does that matter anymore if he says that? No. Of course it doesn't matter. I don't see that happening. I could see something that, like a curveball that sounds a bit like it happening, but not really. I don't see that happening. Why would he? I don't think the government knows all the answers myself. I think that the cover-up everybody's been talking about, and that I've been talking about of the last 75, 80 years from the U.S. government about UFOs and aliens, I think the cover-up is real, but what they're covering up is not what everybody thought. I think they're covering up their ignorance, not having all the answers.
And we don't have the answers.
We don't have the answers.
And you're feeling, all these people have come forward for the last since, Roswell. All the people who had claimed, they've been, I've been abducted. They took me on their craft. They experimented. They opened me up. They put prods in me. They did this on me. And then they kind of like zapped me back up with a zipper, right? And then they said, well, they were showed a video on a screen in the spacecraft saying, well, this is what your planet could be, or this is what your planet could be. And then they get a free tour inside the craft. I mean, do you buy that either?
Like as if they lived a This Is Your Life episode?
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that. Even the sacred cases, so to speak, the historical ones like Betty and Barney Hill, I don't know. I mean, if they're going to take you away, well, also, Gary, how many DNA samples do you need?
Well, evidently,
couldn't you take one peasant from medieval Denmark and that would be enough forever if you needed DNA? Like, do you have to take people all the time?
Yeah, with their technology, why would they?
Why would they? You just need one. You just need a little swab from your mouth. And 23andMe's got everything they need.
Yeah.
But I'm not doubting everyone that has been abducted, but I think the grift is constant. And also people, they want attention, or also people think that it has happened when maybe it hasn't, or like a night terror, that actual phenomenon of a night terror, which I had one as a kid. It was horrible, and I couldn't move, and I thought something was in the room. But it fits with a night terror, that phenomenon, and I don't think it was aliens. So there could be a whole bunch of things that can happen with those events, from just selling a DVD program to really thinking it happened. That's not the answer.
Well, see, you're young yet. You know, I'm an old fart, and I remember these old B movies when they first came out, you know. When I started noticing it was probably the late 50s, like, hey, go to bed. Well, you can't watch that. But the one-eye monster, you know, the alien and the ridiculous, you know, zapping people with their ray gun. You know, we've been, since the mid-50s, or actually early 50s, just brainwashed about bad ETs wanting to conquer this planet and destroying people, and they want something from this planet. And that has been going on till today. You can go on to YouTube or anything and watch these movies, current ones even. It hasn't stopped. So this is going into your brain as a young kid. As you're getting older, you're still watching these type of movies. At least a lot of people do.
I still do.
And it gets absorbed in your brain. Mm-hmm. And then one day you think, oh my God, maybe I was abducted. So you go to a hypnotist, you know, a therapist that is not qualified. In other words, they didn't go to medical school. They didn't go to any major, you know, and they're not certified. But they're hypnotizing people. And again, are they putting more thoughts into these people, doing more harm? Because I've talked to people, they thought they were, you know, Hitler to Queen whatever, you know, Cleopatra. As a reincarnation, that does not make logical sense. I think a lot of this stuff does damage. That's all.
Yep. And I think for those movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still, or a lot of them, when you look back, you can clearly see that it's Hollywood reflecting people's fears at the time, whether it's anti-communism or if it's, you know, just whatever it is. But like, you can track sci-fi from people's fears. So if you're doing that, then people's fears will start tracking to sci-fi, right?
You're right.
So, you know, I mean, one of my favorites ever, which I think is more quirky, is To Serve Man from Twilight Zone. I love that. You know, it's like, that is funny. And it's great. But that's a little bit more like a Far Side comic than a scary movie. But it put it in us. It made us nervous. We hated that.
Yeah, but you know, that was really ahead of its time. Could you imagine, right? These aliens come down, they give you a big book, and it's To Serve Man. Oh, they're here to help us. They're going to come and do our laundry. They're going to do our landscaping. They're going to give us all this, you know, and they give us a little bit, right? Because you know what? Yeah. It's the same way. What do you do with cattle? You fatten them up to take them to the slaughterhouse. Well, that's what they were doing. And that was,
and then we all got in line wanting to go.
Yeah, on the trip to this beautiful planet.
Yeah.
And then naturally, you got to eat all this food on the way.
Mm-hmm. Soylent Green is people, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I as far as old sci-fi goes, that is one of my absolute favorites. I love it. But, you know, you drive a population crazy when you put out decades of this stuff.
You know, that could be very well true, though. Mm-hmm. They're here to serve man. Look at all the people that go vanishing every year in this country. And then not just our country, Canada, you know, Europe, all these places. They have a very high of missing people. Yes, we got serial killers. We got people that don't want to live any longer, so they walk out in the middle of the woods. But there's still a certain amount of people that just vanish with no trace.
That just disappear.
What do you think's going on?
Well, I hope it's not the all-you-can-eat menu at the Intergalactic Sizzler.
Well, it could be.
It could be.
As long as they give you soda to wash it down.
Yeah. You know, I think, and it goes to my... Granted, I clearly believe in one of the biggest conspiracies of all time, which is that ET is here, and some of us know it, right? But the the conspiracy mindset I really have a very short fuse with, and it's why I think online and on my channel why people can't tell sometimes if I'm a skeptic or a believer. And I say, well, then neither. I'm just viewing this stuff and trying to parse through it. But one of the marks of a person that believes in every conspiracy theory under the sun is that when you can't get a handle on how messy the world is, it's messy. It's like evolution. It's all over the place. And there's misfire after misfire after misfire, and somehow time moves on. But if you can't accept how sloppy and messy the universe's workings are, you have to assign it to a simple explanation. Well, there's a unifying board of directors, the Illuminati, that run everything. Or there's some family that knows everything. No, there is not. The world is very messy. And sometimes weird stuff happens.
Well, the thing is, too, what really gets me, I can see this, okay? You do a thing on one of the big platforms, your show, but a lot of other people do, and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. You know, when I started, after I retired from broadcasting, then I came back because a friend of mine talked me into it. Mm-hmm. You know, there wasn't many people doing what I'm doing on the internet back then. There was a fraction of, podcasts and shows out there. And now you go on there and there's literally millions and millions of podcasts. Yep. And everybody out there, again, Art, my friend, would put
I love Art Bell forever.
He would put ons just because he wanted to give his audience good entertainment. But there's a difference between putting a put on and then trying to convince the population on untruths. And I will never lower myself down on this show. I'd rather end it tonight, period, than to sit there and spread untruths out there. So, like I was saying earlier, you have all these podcasts out there now, from the egg to, all this other stuff, right? Just spreading garbage. They're trying to do better than the other podcasts. So they come out with more of a ridiculous story. Even this doctor all of a sudden jumped on the bandwagon and now has a podcast.
The doctor in question, who I'm virtually certain I know who you're talking about, didn't he promise, hands-on promise, 0 point energy by the end of 2024? Oh, yeah. 0 point energy. Promised it.
But he's promised.
Unless I didn't hear about it, we do not have 0 point energy, and he never delivered again.
But he's promised a lot of stuff through the years.
He's promised a lot of stuff and delivered nothing. Well, I can't stand it. Those types just, it's like, can't we just be in pursuit of truth and argue and quibble about, the details, but not be so boldly spreading BS?
Well, think about this. If you're somebody who has the reputation of this doctor or some other people, right? You can go up before certain members of the Pentagon. You can go up, between certain members of Congress. They're going to listen to you. You can hand them a big book and say, here, this is what we have figured out. And they're going to listen to you because one reason why. They love it. Because all you're doing is, again, coming up with stuff that is untrue.
Yep. And, the antidote to that, which I love the internet for this, and I hate it for this. But if you go on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and you just say, I don't know, but this is kind of what I'm thinking, all good. Right? That's fine. But as soon as you put up graphics and kind of pretend to be a pundit, or claim that you know exactly what's going on and I'm just providing you updates, that is when it gets ugly and gets weird. But if you just get on there and say, hey, have you guys seen this? This is a weird one. And look at this. Maybe there's a tie. That's great. No, that's just called using the internet to spread info. But it's when you start posing as a pundit or talking head and sharing the news, then it gets very into the tall grass and off the fairway quick.
Well, I do think that, again, I go back to some of these people. They spread disinformation because it gives them more views, more listeners to listen to their show or podcast. But again, what are they going to do down the future? Well, how could some of these two big people that did this guy with the helicopter pilot, the mechanic, okay, how are they going to live it down? Oh, eventually they're going to come out and say, well, we were misled. Because that's what they're going to have to say.
Yeah. Al Capone's tomb, like I said, or vault or crypt or whatever it was called. It feels like that. If you tease it as a bombshell before you drop it, you can't live it down. You can say, check this out. Look at what this mechanic or whoever it is sharing. It's an egg on a rope, and this is who he claims. That's okay. I get it. But if you say this is a bombshell, we have fully vetted this. This is absolutely the big earth-shattering thing. Then on tonight, and then wha-bam, you reveal it, and then it's that. It's very hard to live down, and that's a bummer because I think that news network that it ran on has in general been really good, but this just feels like they fell for it.
Well, it was that and the doctor too. Also, between the two of them, it was a toss-up. The doctor thought actually he was going to have the person on first, and then he ended up on the other one first. I don't know. It really, like I said, it does more damage to what we're trying to prove. And at this point, I don't know how we, you or me or anybody else that is trying to get to the truth of this. How can we? Now, I've interviewed a lot of people through these 50-some years that I believe their story that they were abducted or they were driving and saw a UFO. I know, by God, I saw something strange myself.
You saw one. Yeah.
And so I know that these things exist. What we need to do is pull more of that information together than this other type of this literally bullshit.
Mm-hmm. I think that the way you've done it is, I love it, which is that you accept that there's more questions than answers.
Well, when you have somebody out like the egg, I have more questions now than ever. Yeah. Because I don't buy it. I just, again, like I mentioned to you, I don't know if you remember, two passions in my life. One was talking. My mom wanted me to be a Catholic priest. I wanted to be a president of the United States. No, I was a talk show host. Well, I guess it might be better than either one. But if you really look at it, that we need to really dig in to what is real. We need to go back before Roswell. We got to get back the information that the Congress and Senate had in these secret hearings back in the 40s and the 50s and 60s and 70s, and Project Bluebeam and Blue Book and all this stuff, and really look into it to see what was real, what wasn't. And then we can kind of construct what is going on. But the way it's going at it, I mean, who's going to come out next week and say it's okay? I flew a cargo plane and we pulled a craft that looked like a giant squid.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's going to come out with something better than this egg, isn't they? Aren't they?
I was hoping for better than that this time. Looking at the chatter online around the egg.
What's your feedback? What has your feedback when you talk about it? What type of, do you get love mail? Do you get hate mail? Do you get people that get really upset with you and want to meet you in the back of a parking lot?
And egg me?
And egg you, yes.
Yeah. I would say that I have gotten about 70%, and I think a lot of my viewers, for whatever reason, are not hardcore UFO people. I think they tend to be the everyman who comes across my stuff. So 70% are like, yeah, buddy, bingo. That looks crazy. That doesn't make any sense. But 30%, which is a lot, are angry. And they're angry. How could you? You're a sellout. You're part of the government conspiracy. You're this or that. They often bring up not the doctor. They bring up the doctor a lot, but also the MIT, the big Area 51 guy. They bring him up in anger because I've been skeptical of him in the past, and it's like their worldview is getting poked in the most uncomfortable spot, and really vitriol. But I think most people, when they see it, just laugh. But it's the 30% that concerns me, because they're really mad.
Yeah, that's the scary part. Well, we need to take a break. When we come back, I want to explain a little bit about, this Groom Lake guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but I'm going to talk about, a little bit about art and, for people might understand where I'm coming from and how this all got started with this guy who, back engineered propulsion systems out of UFOs. So we'll be back with our guest, Ryan, right after this.
I'm looking for a girl, she's gonna complete me. I'll travel around the world, I know it won't be easy. She's gonna bring the best out in me. I don't know the rest, but I can't wait to see. I'm looking for a girl, she make me wanna love, she give me just enough. She's always gonna keep me wanting more, because she'll understand just how to treat a man. Don't tell me it's impossible, cause I'll search near and far to find where you are. I'm looking for a girl, yes I am.
An earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51.
Diving into the headlines of the mysterious and unexplained, this is the Unseen News with Guy Ticker, where the extraordinary is just the beginning. Australian Institute funds research into UFOs and unexplained phenomena. It's asking the biggest question of all: are we alone? NERI head of projects Ross Colcart said, quote, "Only about 5% of all the sightings that come in can't be explained mundanely." UFO researcher Keith Basterfield said, "No UAP protocol exists in Australia. Australia's Department of Defense doesn't have a specific policy governing the reporting or recording of UAP by members of the public or military personnel." However, a defense spokesperson said in a statement, quote, "There are established procedures used by the military and civilian air traffic controllers and air crew for the management and reporting of airspace infringements and unknown aircraft, and the reporting of incidents that pose a risk to aviation safety." As Australia's Department of Defense sees no compelling reason to divert resources to the specific recording and investigation of UAP, Colcart said his institute was stepping up. And that wraps up tonight's top news story. I'm Guy Ticker on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Val Von Torn of Metatron Power and Light. You're listening to Gary Anderson and Night Dreams Talk Radio.
And we are back with Ryan. What I want to say, Art was a friend of mine. Everybody knows it who listens to the show. Again, just like Art, I've interviewed literally thousands of people through the years. Do I believe every guest I've had on my show or the shows? I'm going to be honest with you. No, but it's entertainment. I leave it up to you, the listener, to make the decision if the guest is telling the truth or not. And again, it's always great entertainment. That's how I look at it. But when you got people like Bob and other people out there that have made claims, again, people want to believe that these things exist. And I don't blame them. Okay? I want more than anything to prove that we are being visited. But when you have people that make false claims for years and years and represent themselves with something that they're not, that does damage to what I've been trying to prove. And a lot of other people like Ryan and everybody else for the years try to prove that we are being visited. Oh my God, people, we got to open our eyes up and our brain to realize that, what better way the government could have is getting certain people to come out and make these claims, because it just clouds and muckies the whole water about the whole subject, right? That's my 2 cents. I think we're getting a certain amount of people out there that are actually doing this purposely. Maybe they're getting paid to do it. I don't know.
If you make up your mind, if you make up the viewer's mind for them, that's the beginning of the end. If you just give a forum and you are skeptical when you think you need to be skeptical, and you keep an open mind and you're allowed to be opinionated, but when you present it as already established fact, it's a problem. Because there's no experts. How could there be an expert? Have we contacted ET yet? I don't think so. I haven't. I don't think humanity has a direct line with ET. So how could there be an expert?
You mean you don't think there could be ETs working on underground bases and giving us technology? Again, if you think about it, if we had all this technology, right? Why aren't we using it?
Yeah, maybe we do. Maybe we do have some. But I very firmly believe that we have been covering up our ignorance and not having all of the answers. Because if we had all the answers, well, we'd be the only game in town. We would have weapons that would make your head spin and no one else could figure out how we got them. We don't have that. But what I think we do have is some wreckage, and we do have maybe some bodies, or I think we do have stuff like that, but we don't fully understand what it is that we have. And I think that's where it starts to unravel in our favor, is where the government or governments of the world start kind of admitting that they don't know everything. That's real disclosure. To me, real disclosure is not, okay, here's the answers. We've had them forever. No, I don't. That's not how government works.
Well, let's be honest with you. Flying discs and aliens go back to biblical times. Even before that, in the caves, painting on the walls of flying discs in the sky. How would people basically cavemen be able to comprehend and draw that unless they saw something?
Yeah, in Christopher Columbus's captain's log, he has UFOs that he saw over the ocean, intelligent lights dancing around and zipping. In Christopher Columbus's captain's log, and a whole lot farther back than that. Look at the Nazca lines in Peru. But if those aren't alien spacemen, I don't know what is.
Well, you know what? There's been people trying to debunk that, just like everything else. But think about that. They didn't have the technology to do what was done. Some of this looks like a landing field. How could we have done it back then with our technology? How could the Sphinx been built? How could the pyramids been built? We can't even answer those today. We can't.
Yeah.
So we are very dumb when it comes to our past, let alone our future.
I think a common misconception for all of us is when we think that ancient people were dumb, that we're smart, but they were dumb. Oh, they're just, imbecile. I don't think so at all. If anything, they were smarter than we are now.
Probably.
Right?
The Egyptians were doing brain operations and dental, and they had electronics of some sort. So it tells me they weren't as, it just makes me wonder about people. What we need more than anything is, rather than, people just sitting there saying, this or that or making up stuff, we really need to keep pushing the Congress, the government, for disclosure, but the right way. If people actually took the time and not just wrote a email, but even sent a letter through the U.S. Post Office, which that would help them financially. But I'm saying to their congressmen, I think, and their senators, I think we would get more push to it.
Yes. I think that the congressional hearings, which left a bad taste in my mouth. I know there's a lot of wild things discussed in them, but that is not how it's going to happen. I really don't think so.
Do you think, honestly,
it's too many talks of secret things and high level people that you can't hear about, but we're talking about now? That just doesn't work.
Most governments, even if you have a Congress or a Senate or any type of body, I don't care what government, if something was major going on, they would put a stop to it. They would put a kibosh to it and put a hush to it. They wouldn't allow Congress to keep talking about it. Again, we have to realize how many congressmen are pushing for disclosure. There's 500 and some congressmen. And there's 2 handfuls of people in Congress that are trying to get this information out. Why is that?
I agree. Like the term immaculate constellation, which has been thrown around, which is like, this is the deepest black program and this is the most secret. Well, then why are you talking about it? How are you able in Congress to be saying those words if that is the most secretive of all? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. What would be the most ideal form of disclosure is if we had a president say, we don't have all the answers, but here for the public, to dissect is some DNA code we got from this thing. But we don't really know. So can you help us? That would go a long way. Well, not just, they're here.
Well, even if they came out and said, look, we are being visited. But at this point, going through history, they haven't done anything to hurt humanity. So we really can't tell you anything more till we find out more. That I think people would take it. So many ufologists, when I asked them this question, I said, if something happened, do you think that the population would panic? If the government came out and said, hey, tomorrow, Trump says, you know what, we're being visited by ETs. And by God, I don't know if they're hostile towards humans or not. We just don't know that. 90% of the ufologists I've had on my show said that the American population or the world population wouldn't panic. But you know what? Again, there's a lot of people with weapons stockpiled in their homes and other places, just ready for whatever bad could happen to defend themselves. I really think there would be mass panic if the government came out and actually said, we're being visited and we can't stop it.
Yep. Or what if they came out and said that, and then all the markets fell because of it? So then suddenly Wall Street just shatters, and then everybody panics, right? It can go a lot of ways, and none of them are very good. I just don't see that the government or a president would be willing to do that. And so that's why I don't think it's the most important thing to focus on.
No, we got a lot of other things, a lot worse going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my theory that I've come to that kind of got me out of retirement with the UFO thing, at least in the public sphere, is about the ocean. To me, that was a big deal when I started to realize that potentially these things are coming from the ocean.
That makes logical sense.
It makes logical sense. Coming from outer space, that's a long distance. And also, we don't have on the James Webb telescope or Hubble, we don't see UFO motherships coming toward us. We don't see that stuff, but we do see is in the near field, meaning, a couple of miles up on closer, we see all the stuff in that. And we see over the ocean and in the ocean a lot of these transmedium devices, I like to call them, because I don't know if it's a craft or not. But I think the ocean down there is where the smart money is.
I think so. We got a caller. Who do we have?
This is Tom.
Yeah, Tom, what's your question tonight?
My question is, considering all the things that are involved in the UAP, UFO, alien, extraterrestrial, interdimensional thing that you're looking at, because all of those have to be included in what's going on. Does your guest really think that with as convoluted as this thing is, that there is going to be any type of real disclosure? Because if they address just one aspect of it, this thing is so big and it has so many components to it that I don't see how they really could address it. And I just wanted his take on that.
It's a good question, Tom. I don't think that they have a lot to disclose, or at least that they don't. It's not what we think they would disclose, because it is a lot. There's huge amounts of subject matter here that it encompasses, and I don't think that they would say it's all true, or like in Star Wars, it's true, all of it. I think it would be messier. And I don't think they would do it anyway. I think they're very careful about this stuff, right? What do you think?
Well, I think that, you made a really good point about those craft that are coming up out of the ocean. And if you look at the folklore of the world, you will see that many, many, many cultures have talked about personalities. They go by the name of Veracocha and many others in Central and South America, in Egypt, and all over the world that basically came after a deluge from the sea in craft that had rotating lights on them, et cetera, and established civilization. They taught astrology, astronomy, mathematics, et cetera. And then because of other forces that came in, they basically took those same craft and went back into the sea. So, I think you're looking at, when you talked about that aspect is from the ocean, that's just one of a plethora of different things that are going on here simultaneously.
Well, hey, Tom, I got a question for you. Have you seen this egg?
No, sir.
Well, you need to go on to X or TikTok or on YouTube and type in UFO egg. It'll pop up. But again,
okay.
I just think people want to believe so bad they'll believe anything. I don't know how your feeling is, Tom.
You got to see it, Tom.
Well, my feeling about believing anything is I stopped smoking dope a long time ago. So.
I might start. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, maybe it's a good tonight. I haven't done it since I was in Vietnam. Maybe it's a good time to light up something. But
maybe tonight's a night.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, again, I think if any place on this planet, if you want to have a base and not be discovered, the ocean is one of the places that hasn't been actually discovered, hasn't been investigated. Very little of it has. And what better place? There's so many reports from ship captains, submarine captains, and Abro coming out talking about these fast movers. We don't have any technology that could go zipping by a submarine at hundreds of miles an hour.
Yep. And one of the most stable elements in the universe that we know about is water. So it's not a bad hiding spot.
Well, yeah, deep down, and they would have the technology. If they're flying here from wherever they're flying from, going deep in the ocean is not going to affect them. I think we got another caller. Who do we have?
You got Art again.
Hi, Art again.
Hi,
how are
Gary.
you doing?
Yeah. My question is because, I'm over here by Navy, air base and ley line to the Naval Seal Beach Naval Shipyard and the depot where they have the ammunition right over my view. And you got San Pedro with the Marine Naval Base. There's a lot of action over here. But my question is that some of these orbs are different sizes, different colors. Some show intelligence when you try to videotape them or see them, and they disappear. I also had experience with when some came out, some people around me just passed out like they were frozen, like an intelligence that they feel there's some sort of connecting with your mind from the reactions. Got some great pictures of them even coming towards me and taking the next picture. They freeze and then they disappear, or, and they, also there was these ones that are like football size and they blink off. And then when they turn back on, they're in a different position. So they're moving sporadically. I've seen half a dozen of those. A flat disc. There were three flat discs connected together about 40 feet above me. And with the way they moved and the way it disappeared. So basically, egg-shape, never seen one of those, but mostly they're small. And one more thing, is paranormal areas of orbs in your homes, or whether you see them or they're close to the ground, the same, or the ones up high above? And that'll be my question. I'll take it off the air. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Art.
Okay.
The orb question is all the weirdness you could ever possibly handle. And there are a lot of cases, FBI agents, CIA, military, and in Lou's book, he mentions it too, about orbs visiting the homes of people that are researching this stuff. So if any one part of it is true, then, like I said, it's more weird than you could ever possibly wrap your head around. But the whole orb thing is bizarre, and being semi-intelligent and zipping around and visiting and being aware of who's viewing them, that's been a hard one for me to come around to, but I've had to come around to it because it's so common.
Yeah, but Ryan, think about this. These orbs might be other devices, okay, that are cloaked like orbs to disguise what they actually physically are.
Yes.
So, so they might not be the paranormal thing that a lot of people think they are. They could actually be craft, that are cloaked to, be an orb. I don't know. They certainly must know a lot about us because, the old shows like Donna Reed, and Magnum PI and all that stuff is out there. And, the old Cowboy and Indians, all those type of movies and TV shows, they must think really strangely of humanity.
Yeah. And if you believe any one part of it, then you've got to be willing to consider the rest. And the orb thing is absolutely bizarre. I mean, the thing I've come around to is wondering if those old von Neumann probes that John von Neumann and Albert Einstein theorized about, which von Neumann's the one that popularized the idea, but Einstein later concurred that it would have to be true, is that on a long enough timeline in vast enough space, there would have to be self-replicating machines that were not living but semi-intelligent, AI-driven, as we tend to think of it now, that would only exist to eat and reproduce. And they would 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 produce an exact clone, and they would just spread through the universe, mining and reproducing. And it sounds a little far-fetched if you think of it in one way, but I can think of who does exactly that, eat and reproduce and then die. It's us. It's not that unusual. So I could imagine that these craft, these semi-intelligent craft, have been in the ocean for millennia, and they were built so long ago by somebody so far away that we'll never know who built them. And they just basically, it's a theory, but maybe the UFOs that we see that are monitoring and that are flying around and kind of aware of us are really just like a closed circuit TV monitoring their deep sea mining operations. And that maybe there is not an alien driving it. Maybe it's just a AI, like a Nest Cam that's just monitoring behavior on the surface to protect its mining interests while it mines down there.
Just think about AI. In the next probably 10 years, AI is going to be equal or actually surpass our human life. In other words, they will be a living entity at the rate it's going. They're going to be able to have thought processes just like we do, maybe far superior. That is scary. So you think about this technology, it's out there. I don't know what's going on. But
are we really needed past that point? Or maybe the way that life evolves in the universe is it starts off as organic and gets itself together and comes up, and then you get to where we are, which is right in that tipping point between our machines that are made out of blood and muscles like us. Maybe we develop AI, we upload to a consciousness, and then the organic parts die off and that consciousness goes out and continue. Maybe that's just the natural course of evolution.
It is a really good possibility when you think about it.
Could be.
Now, when you had your coffee shop, you had actors and you had famous people in. And again, have you ever had any of them that came in and told you a story where you actually, your jaw dropped open? Because it's so convincing. Can you tell us like one of them without mentioning their name?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't mind me mentioning names, then definitely. I just feel like it's in poor taste to out somebody's story when they haven't given permission, much less somebody who's in the public eye. But because Flying Saucers was in Santa Monica, and we did get celebrities, it was very interesting. So let's see. There was a very well-known superhero, let's just say that, an actor who plays a well-known superhero who came in, who told me that he had been abducted as a kid. And he didn't seem totally positive if it was aliens or not. He felt like it was, but he just wanted somebody to talk to about it. And so it had nothing to do with his job or the fact that he was so well known. It was that he had been in my cafe before, and so the name and all that. But then he had watched, I think it was Ancient Aliens at home, and he had been reminded of my cafe at his home watching Ancient Aliens. So came in to tell me about one of the cases he saw on that TV show and to see what I thought. Which I was like, man, this is surreal. I'm just owning this coffee house, and this A-list movie person comes in to talk to me because they'd seen something on Ancient Aliens. But he just kind of wanted to tell me his tale and to see what I thought. And I had questions about it, and I gave him a couple things to look into, like related cases. And it was really cool. So he came back a couple times, but he was very earnest about it. I mean, he would be horrified if he thought that somebody put that out there in the world and said who it was, because that's no one's right to say. But so that was a cool one. There was a lot of mention of UFO sightings. That's always the most common. There was a Bigfoot. Somebody saw a Bigfoot, which is another celebrity. That was fun. I'd be happy to tell you off the air who they are, but I just can't on the air because
you got my curiosity.
It would be cool of me to do.
After the end of the show, you got to tell me that.
Okay.
Again, how can they find you? Where are you at? How often do you do what you do? Where can they find you?
Me?
No, James. No, you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I sold Flying Saucers, so I don't have that anymore. But fortunately, the building that it was in Santa Monica has not burned down in these big fires. But I still go to LA sometimes. But up here, they mostly on my YouTube channel, TikTok. I I kind of fell out of the public sphere for a while because with AI and CGI faking everything so well, I just, at a certain point, I got frustrated. But then when the Tic Tac thing started coming back and there was the USS Nimitz and all that, I was like, I got to come back. This is getting good again. So, you know, I'm easy to be found online. But back then, I could be found every single day, morning until night in that cafe, which was so much fun.
It sounds like it. Now, one last question I have. Do you believe disclosure is happening because of public pressure? Or do you think maybe there's another motive behind it?
Gary, I think, well, I'm not allowed to answer a question with a question, right? Because I'd love to throw it back at you, but I won't. I think that the disclosure we are seeing, which is a form of it, I think is likely a ruse. And I think that it's not for the right reasons. And I think for some of it, it's fake. Like you had mentioned before, the idea of a fake UFO threat is an amazing unifier and distractor. So I think some of the disclosure-esque info we're getting from the government, CIA, New York Times, Pentagon, Congress, all these things, I think some of that is a fake. But I also believe that the real thing is happening. So I think if the real thing gets disclosed, I think that public pressure would not do it. I don't think any amount of public pressure is going to somehow burst the dam and make them admit things. I think that something has to happen where something that we can't deny, meaning with our own eyes.
How about like maybe a possible World War III that is developing, or something to detune it, to get people's mind off of something else? That's all the things I would be worried about. Maybe what, about disclosure. Hopefully, maybe we'll get some honest people coming through. Again, if this guy that claimed he was a helicopter pilot and was a mechanic, maybe he did both. Maybe he is telling the truth. I don't know, but everything about it, I analyzed the video. It is not legit, but you can get mad at me. I've been doing this for years with photography, and I can spot fake stuff really fast. But again, people want to believe so much.
Fox Mulder said it best. I want to believe.
Oh, by the way, they're coming back with, I think, 12 episodes of the X-File. Yeah, they're producing them right now.
The last season of X-Files was a big disappointment. So if they want to redo it, it's fine with me.
Me too.
But I was going to say, if you and I were Siskel and Ebert of UFO stuff, I think that for the egg mechanic, I don't think I think we gave it 2 thumbs down.
Okay. Well, don't hang up. I'm going to talk to you after the show's over. So we'll be back here tomorrow with Thomas Jane, the actor, The Mist, The Deep Blue Sea, The Punisher. We're going to be talking about his movie, TV career. And he wrote a book, and it's supposed to be coming out about ufology, UFOs. And maybe we can find out more about his encounter too with Thomas Jane tomorrow, right here on Night Dreams Talk Radio. Check out our website, I dare you to, at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. On comments, leave a comment about the show, good or bad, whatever. Also, let me know what country you're listening to. I've been getting all over the world. I got a real nice comment here from Italy and South America, you name it. Leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. Till tomorrow with Thomas Jane, everybody have a good one. And watch out, tomorrow I'm not going to eat scrambled eggs. Everybody have a good one. We'll catch you on the other side.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers, talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's Talk Show Radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien